Hi there. I am live because I want to show you how I set up the audio when I do a live music shoot. Well, here's the thing. I'm doing this all by myself here, so you'll have to bear with me if there's some technical things that I have to work out in the process of doing this. I am streaming this and I'm also recording it on 3 cameras and making a master recording on my computer for editing purposes later. So what I'm going to do is just go from this to the wide shot, and then I'm probably going to leave it on the wide shot for most of this because I can edit this later, and I'm just one person trying to make this thing happen. So anyways, I hope you're doing great, and this is how I set up my I hope you're doing great, and this is how I set up my my home studio for recording live music performances on video. Alrighty, so if I say things a couple of times, it's because I'm actually filming this for the purposes of making a YouTube video from the edited version of everything I captured today. Alrighty, so we are in the process of moving things out of the way, or I am in the process of moving things out of the way. Okay, so when the setup today is going to be for a single person, just one guy playing guitar and singing at the same time. So what I'm going to do is set up a couple of different types of microphones. I'm going to set up some dynamic microphones so that I have isolated the sound from my voice and from the guitar, because dynamic microphones have a really tight pickup pattern. Only what's pretty much right in front of them gets picked up, and they're really good for isolating the individual instruments, because if you keep a dynamic microphone pretty close to an instrument, you're not going to pick up much else other than whatever it's really close to. I'm also going to set up a pair of condenser microphones to get more of a natural sound, because you wouldn't really ordinarily, you wouldn't just sit right next to the guitar and put your ear up to it, or get right in somebody's face and listen to them sing. You'd step back a little bit. And condenser microphones have that more natural sound, and I like to have the option of blending them later on after I've recorded it, because what happens is if you try to do the mix live, especially if you're just a solo and you're one-man band, you're recording yourself, it's really difficult to get a good mix on the fly. So what I do is I use a multi-track recorder to record each microphone separately. And I've already gone through a little bit of the setup before I started recording this video today. And what I did was I used my tone generator to make sure that the input from each of my preamps going into my multi-track recorder had a level that was, if the level on the meter on the preamp was at 0 decibels, and I know I'm getting a good signal on a good strong signal on the digital multi-track recorder. All right, so start off with, since I'm going to be playing the guitar, I'm going to have a microphone, a dynamic microphone, and this is an SM57 type microphone. And I'm going to place that in front here so that when I'm playing the guitar, and standing on my marks, I've got little marks on the ground here where I put my feet. This microphone will pick up the guitar. Now, let me tilt this a little bit, but that's the basic idea. And I don't want it too close, because there's the possibility that I would hit my hand would hit the microphone, and that would sound really good, as you can imagine. All right, so that's the first microphone placement. That's a dynamic microphone. And I've got cables here, cables running from the different preamps, so going into the different preamps. So I've got a PreSonus channel strip which I'm going to use. And for this microphone on, and a good tip is to always put the cable underneath one of the legs of your mic stands, just in case something comes along and pulls on this. It won't. It lowers the chances of knocking your microphone over, pulling your microphone over with it. All right, and then this clip here to hold the microphone cable to the stand works pretty well. Oh, and what I've done is I've labeled the each of my cables with what preamp they go into, so that I know in advance what where it's going, because with a lot of cables on the floor it can get pretty confusing. So it's good to label your cables, especially if you've got a permanent setup like this and you're doing you're not plugging one in at a time as far as going into the preamp, so you know which channel you're recording on. All right, so that's that. And then for my voice, I'm going to use this dynamic microphone and place it. Let's see, where do I want that? I guess it needs to be a little closer. Right around there. Again, really, I'm trying to get really close to where my mouth is going to be while I'm playing the guitar and singing, and double check. One thing I have to remember is that these mics aren't live. You're hearing, I've got a little lavalier microphone, a wireless lavalier microphone on. That's what the sound is going to you for the purpose of this video. So I don't have to talk into the microphone for you to hear me. Anyway, so here we go. I want to make these so it feels, natural where I'm standing and I'm playing, and if I'm singing, it's going to be all right. These microphones are pretty much going to pick up what I want them to. Important thing about microphones is that there are a couple of different types of microphones. Not only do you have your dynamic and your cardioid condenser type or your condenser type of microphones, but you also have a pickup pattern. So if you're talking about a cardioid pickup pattern, it picks up what's in front of it and doesn't really pick up what's behind it. So thinking about pointing it in the direction of pointing the part that picks up in the direction of what you want it to pick up, and then have the other side facing away from what you don't want to pick up, or facing towards what you don't want to pick up. So I don't want to pick up anything over there. I want to pick up stuff over here, so it's facing away. And that's especially important if there's a really bad sounding part of your room, or there's another instrument right nearby. You would want to have the back plate facing towards. It's actually probably better for me to lift this up a little bit and face it down so that it picks up less of my voice. Anyway, that's that. Now, plugging in I actually made a mistake, and I'm the first to admit it. This one is supposed to go, this is number 1. This one should go into the vocal mic, and then number 2 from the other PreSonus preamp. Is it pre or PreSonus preamp? Should go into this microphone. So that's that. And again, underneath the stand prevents it from getting knocked over. All right, so there we go. Now, since I've already kind of set my levels, I'm not going to have to worry about that with this setup, but what I am going to do is, just so you know, I've turned the gain all the way down on all my preamps before plugging them in, and as you'll see with the cardioid mics, I turned the phantom power off, because you don't want to plug in things to equipment that's turned on or turned up. There's a lot of reasons for that, and you won't. One of them is you could damage the equipment by having this all of a sudden getting a signal running into it when it's all powered up and warmed up. And the other thing is that if you have any sort of device that's amplifying it and going out through speakers, it can be really unpleasant to all of a sudden have a lot of sound coming out of the speakers from a microphone you just plugged in. All right, so with the cardioid condenser type microphones, this I use to get that more natural sound up top here for my voice, and it can be further back than the dynamic type of microphone. For video, I like to keep it off a little bit to the side, but still with the still facing towards me, and I'll hang them upside down because it just looks a little bit better to have a microphone. Instead of having the body of the microphone right in front of my face, it's better to have it up there. And a reason for having this type of microphone further away is that it gives you the dynamics won't be quite so different. If I move around a little bit, because I'm keeping about the same distance from the microphone, if I were real close and I moved back even just a hair, it would sound a lot different. If I'm keeping it fairly far away, and by far away I mean, at least a foot or so from the microphone, it's going to keep a much more stable, a much more consistent dynamic. So it's not going to get loud and quiet and sound weird. It's going to be much more natural sounding because you wouldn't really move your head around a lot. Now with this type of microphone, that's about the condenser microphone. With the dynamic microphone, I like to keep pretty close to it to do the same sort of thing, and it's not as sensitive as that microphone, so I have to kind of get a lot closer to it. All right. So I've got another preamp that I'm plugging this into. This is an ART MPA preamp, one channel of 2-channel MPA. And since we're talking about a condenser microphone, I'm going to have to run some phantom power to it. Although I do have the phantom power turned off now, I will turn it on after I'm set up. All right, that's that. And then my fourth and final microphone for this demonstration is for the guitar. Again, I can keep it further back than the dynamic. I can keep the condenser microphone further back than the dynamic microphone to get a more natural sound from the guitar. And that'll give me options when I'm mixing down. I'll be able to choose how much of each microphone that I'll hear when I mix it together. Plus, I'll be able to use different equalization settings and effects on each microphone to get a better sound, more balanced sound. Again, I'm doing this by myself, so it's really important for me to do it as individual tracks on a multi-track. Now, if you don't have the capability to do that, then your setup will probably take you a little bit longer because you'll want to test it. You'll want to get everything set up and record a little bit, listen to it, and make some adjustments, and keep doing that until you've got a good blend mix with your effects and your EQ and all your microphones before doing your actual performance recording. Now, best case scenario is if you have somebody to help you and they can go ahead and set the levels while you're warming up and singing first couple of songs during a sound check. But if you have to do your own sound check, record, listen back, make adjustments, record until you're happy with the mix you've got. I definitely recommend doing that on a day other than the day before or before you actually have to give a performance, because that can really tire you out. Playing the same thing over and over again, or just playing will tire you out. And you know, you get to a point when as a performer, where you're at your peak, you're warmed up and you're giving your best performances, and you want those to be the ones that you record on your video, and those are the ones you share with people on YouTube, Facebook, whatever you're using to get your message out to the world. All right, so this last microphone is going into the other ART preamp. And I use a lot of kind of fancy gear. You don't need to use all this stuff. I've just accumulated it over the years, and I'm kind of a gearhead, in case you hadn't noticed. But I'm really trying to get the best sound that I possibly can, and that's why I justify using all this stuff. Probably a little bit overkill. You could get by with just the dynamic microphones, or just the condenser microphones, but I'm doing this as an example to show that you can do more than just the basic minimum if you desire. All right, so now I'm going to go over to the multi-track machine. And carefully stepping around my microphones, I'm going to turn the phantom power on the ART mics, and I can see that I'm getting some movement there on the meters, which means I'm getting a signal in. Well, actually, no, that just means that they're powering up. All right, so I already decided that gain around 18 was going to be some good levels, and just to be sure, I'm seeing lights flashing there. That's a good thing. And the meter's moving a little bit. All right, so for the guitar and voice, I've got those up. All right, now, if we were going out live, I would probably bring the levels up, definitely on the two PreSonus preamps, and then maybe keep the other ones sort of low. Since I'm not using this channel, I'll just simply turn it off for recording. But I've got everything ready to go. I can see that the meters are moving, and I'm ready to do my test. So if you were expecting me to sing a song, here's the thing. I'm not going to make an excuse. I'm just simply going to pick up the guitar and play.